Most people believe that the body needs constant food to function, that the moment eating stops, something must start to go wrong. But what if the opposite is true? What if eating once a day, often called OMAD or one meal a day, isn't starvation at all, but a signal your body actually understands? Think of your body like a warehouse that never closes. In modern life, delivery trucks arrive non-stop. Meals, snacks, sugar, late-night bites, boxes pile up, workers rush to unload. There's no time to clean the floor or fix what's breaking. The system keeps running, but it never resets. That's not just a metaphor. That's what's actually happening inside your body when eating never stops. Now imagine the trucks finally stop. The doors close, the noise fades. For the first time in years, the system isn't reacting, it's adapting. What happens inside your body when you stop eating? Over the next 23 hours, we'll follow that process hour by hour, because the waiting isn't wasted time. It's the part that makes everything else possible. Let's start the clock. The clock starts the moment you finish your meal. For the next 4 hours, your body enters what scientists call the fed state. On the outside, everything feels normal. You might feel comfortably full, maybe even a little sleepy. But underneath, your body is busy managing incoming energy. Food breaks down into usable parts. Carbs become glucose. Protein becomes amino acids. Fats are processed and sent out. And as that energy enters your bloodstream, one hormone steps in and takes control: insulin. Think of insulin as the warehouse manager. Its job is simple: store incoming shipments. When insulin is high, energy flows into cells, excess fuel is packed away, and nothing is allowed to leave. Here's the critical detail most people never hear. As long as insulin is circulating, energy can flow in, but it cannot flow out. That's why during the fed state, your fat cells behave like locked vaults. You could move more, you could exercise, you could even eat less overall. But as long as insulin stays elevated from frequent meals or snacks, your body will not access stored fat. Burning fat here isn't hard, it's biologically impossible. Instead, extra glucose is stored as glycogen in the liver and muscles. Think of glycogen as your wallet, easy cash, quick to spend, but limited. Body fat is different. It's your long-term bank account, massive reserves, but completely inaccessible while insulin is high. During these first 4 hours, your body's priority is simple: deal with what just arrived. No deep cleanup, no repair. Long-term maintenance is paused while the system focuses on storage. Between hour 4 and hour 12, the fast enters what many people experience as the hardest part. Not because something is wrong, but because something unfamiliar is happening. No new food is coming in. Blood sugar settles. Insulin steps back. On the surface, things feel quieter. But inside, a transition is underway. Your brain notices first. It checks the glycogen supply, that easy cash in your wallet, and realizes it's running low. So it sends a signal designed to get your attention. That signal is grelin. Often called the hunger hormone, grelin isn't dangerous. It creates urgency, that hollow feeling, restlessness, the emotional edge that says, you should eat. For most people, it rises in waves, often peaking between hour 6 and 8. This is where most people misread what's happening. Because the discomfort feels unfamiliar, it's easy to assume something is wrong, that blood sugar is crashing or starvation has begun. But that conclusion is based on feeling, not physiology. This isn't starvation, it's adaptation. Your body is like a car that's only ever run on gasoline, now being asked to switch to a backup battery. It stutters. Not because the system is broken, but because it's learning to use a new fuel source. As insulin continues to fall, the wallet of easy cash is still being used, but it's no longer enough. And because no new fuel is arriving, the body has to adapt. This is why hunger comes in waves. Grelin rises, then falls, even if you don't eat. The signal is temporary. The danger isn't real. You aren't starving. You're just addicted to easy fuel. And if you let this window pass without reacting, your body prepares to unlock a completely different energy system. That shift begins around hour 12. Around hour 12, the fast reaches a true turning point. Glycogen is nearly exhausted. The wallet that carried you through the earlier hours is running empty. In modern eating patterns, this is where people break. But when food doesn't arrive, the body doesn't shut down. It adapts. Insulin falls to baseline, sending a system-wide signal. Storage mode ends. Access mode begins. An enzyme activates hormone-sensitive lipase. Its job is simple: unlock stored fat. Fat cells finally open. Stored fat is released into the bloodstream, ready to be used. For the first time in hours, or for some people, years, your body stops running on food you recently ate and starts running on energy you stored long ago. You are no longer running on yesterday's bagel. You are running on you. This is the first irreversible metabolic shift. Once the vault opens, the fast stops being about resisting hunger and starts being about letting the system work. Between hours 12 and 16, the experience of the fast begins to change in a way that surprises most people. The urgency that defined the earlier hours fades. The sharp edges of hunger soften. Not because the body has given up, but because it has found a new way to power itself. Up until now, your system has relied primarily on sugar, and burning sugar is like burning wet wood in a fireplace. It works, but it creates a lot of smoke. That smoke shows up as brain fog, fluctuating energy, and the heavy, sluggish feeling that often follows meals. The fire keeps going, but the air is thick. As stored fat is released from the vault, the liver begins converting it into ketones. And ketones are a very different kind of fuel. If glucose is wet wood, ketones are clean-burning gas. They produce steady energy with far less waste. The flame stabilizes, the smoke clears. This is where the shift becomes noticeable. The brain fog evaporates. Your focus sharpens. You don't feel lethargic, you feel electric. Energy stops coming in spikes and crashes and settles into a steady, reliable line. You aren't wired, you aren't jittery, you're calm, alert, and present. This is metabolic flexibility in action, the ability to move between fuel sources without panic. Instead of riding a roller coaster driven by meals and snacks, your energy is now coming from a supply that doesn't disappear every few hours. Even a lean body carries tens of thousands of calories of stored fat. That's not emergency fuel, that's endurance fuel. There's also a deeper logic at work here, one shaped long before modern food environments existed. A hungry human who becomes sleepy doesn't survive. If early humans lost focus when food was scarce, they wouldn't hunt, they wouldn't problem solve, and they wouldn't make it to the next meal. So the body adapted. When food disappears, the brain doesn't shut down, it sharpens. Ketones are part of that adaptation. They give the brain a clean, efficient fuel that supports clarity, focus, and sustained attention. Hunger doesn't make you weaker here, it makes you more capable. By this point in the fast, the system has changed direction. You're no longer pushing through discomfort. You're being carried by a different metabolic state, one designed not just to survive without food, but to function well in its absence. By hours 16 to 18, the warehouse is finally quiet. No trucks, no new boxes, only then can real repair begin. This is when autophagy turns on. Autophagy isn't destruction, it's renovation. The body sends out a cleaning crew, they find damaged parts, misfolded proteins, broken mitochondria. They break them down and recycle the materials. Nothing is wasted. This deep cleanup rarely happens in a constant fed state. Autophagy requires a pause, long enough for the body to fix what's already there. That's why fasting benefits go beyond fat loss. This is cellular maintenance. Autophagy is the closest thing we have to a fountain of youth. But hours 20 to 22 tell a very different story. Instead of muscle breakdown accelerating, the body flips into protection mode. Human growth hormone, HGH, surges. Not by 10 or 20%, but dramatically. Studies show increases anywhere from 1,300 to 2,000% during prolonged fasting. That number matters because HGH does one main job here. It protects lean tissue. HGH signals the body to preserve muscle, strengthen connective tissue, and prioritize fat as fuel. This is not a fragile, catabolic environment. This is a muscle-sparing state designed for survival. Think about the logic. Your body is too smart to burn the furniture when the shed is full of firewood. Fat is stored energy. Muscle is functional machinery. One keeps you alive tomorrow, the other lets you move today. In a fasted state, the body always chooses to burn what's replaceable first. And at this stage, fat is abundant, muscle is not. With insulin low and fat access unlocked, the body pulls from its deepest reserves. Free fatty acids flood the bloodstream. Ketones rise. Energy is supplied without touching critical tissue. This is why fasting doesn't feel like collapsing. It feels controlled, calm, almost deliberate. Strength doesn't vanish overnight because the body is actively defending it. The fear of muscle loss dissolves here, not because you powered through, but because you finally trusted your biology to do what it evolved to do. When fuel is scarce, the body doesn't panic. It becomes precise. By hours 20 to 22, the message is clear. You are not breaking down. You are being protected. And once you feel that, the fast stops feeling dangerous and starts feeling intelligent. Hour 23 arrives quietly, without fireworks or drama on the outside, but inside your body, something rare and extremely important is happening. After nearly a full day without food, your cells are no longer overwhelmed by constant incoming energy. Insulin is low, storage pathways are open, receptors are sensitive, and for the first time in a long while, your metabolism isn't defending itself, it's listening. A fasted cell is like a dry sponge. When a sponge has been sitting dry, whatever liquid touches it doesn't just coat the surface, it gets pulled deep inside. Drop that sponge into dirty water and it absorbs the dirt immediately. Drop it into clean water and it fills with something useful. In this state, what you put in your body doesn't merely get processed, it gets prioritized. That's why this meal matters more than usual. Protein now isn't about calories or fullness, it's about rebuilding. Structural repair resumes. Enzymes, hormones, and muscle fibers that were protected during the fast finally receive the raw materials they need to restore and strengthen themselves. Fats play a different role. Instead of being rushed into storage, they help keep the metabolic engine running smoothly, extending fat utilization and preventing the sharp insulin spike that would otherwise slam the brakes on everything your body just worked to unlock. And then there are micronutrients. Minerals, fiber, and volume. The quiet operators that determine how well the system runs tomorrow. They refill what fasting temporarily emptied, without flooding the warehouse all over again. This isn't a cheat meal, and it isn't a reward, it's a signal. You're telling your body that resources have returned, that repair is allowed, and that growth can resume without panic. Hour 23 isn't the end of the fast. It's the point where the system proves it worked. Here's the part most explanations conveniently leave out. The first week of OMAD rarely feels graceful. It often comes with headaches, irritability, strange energy dips, and moments where hunger feels louder than expected. Not because the body is starving, but because it's withdrawing from constant access to easy fuel. This is adaptation, not danger. One of the most common reasons people feel unwell early on has nothing to do with calories at all, but with sodium. When insulin drops, the kidneys release sodium, sodium pulls water with it, and without replacement, headaches, fatigue, and dizziness follow. Restore sodium, and many of those symptoms resolve quickly. This isn't about pushing through discomfort for discipline points, it's about understanding what's actually happening inside the system. OMAD also isn't something most bodies benefit from jumping into overnight. Metabolic flexibility is relearned gradually, and compressing eating windows step by step gives the body time to adapt without triggering unnecessary stress responses. And it's important to say this clearly, OMAD is not for everyone. People with certain medical conditions, a history of eating disorders, or specific physiological needs shouldn't approach fasting casually. Biology is intelligent, but context always matters, and credibility comes from acknowledging limits rather than pretending they don't exist. Which leads to the real reframe. OMAD isn't a diet, it's a return to your biological operating system. For most of human history, humans didn't eat all day. We moved, searched, waited, then ate with intention, and rested once the work was done. Hunger isn't an emergency, it's a signal. Hunt, feast, rest.